Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Go Lumio webinar series, where we are providing continuous opportunities highlighting how Lumio can provide a fluid workflow that benefits teachers and students. We will show you how to create lessons and activities focused on classroom instructional strategies. My name is Jana Vanya, and I am a Customer Success Manager from Texas. This week's webinar, Transforming Test Prep, AI, and Interactive Reviews Made Simple with Lumio, features Laura Barr, a professional development specialist, also from Texas. We encourage participation. If you have any questions, please ask those in the chat box during the presentation, and we'll either integrate them into the flow or hold them to be answered at the end during our Q&A period. We will be sharing resources from today's webinar in the chat. Also, for participating today, a certificate will be provided after you complete a brief survey. At this point, I'm going to turn things over to Laura so that we can dive into today's webinar, Transforming Test Prep, AI and Interactive Reviews Made Simple with Lumio.
Thank you, Jana. Thank you for that introduction, and thank you everyone for being here today. Jana is going to be in the chat kind of monitoring all the things and sharing things, but if you have any questions, feel free to drop those in. So we are talking about test prep season. It's the dreaded season that I can't believe is already upon us. Feels like the school year is flying by. I'm sure it does for you guys as well. So I just wanted to give you guys some things on how you can leverage Lumio when you are doing test prep. So on the screen, there are instructions. I would love for you to join my session. If you go to lumioclass.com, join as a guest and enter that class ID 777097. And Jana dropped the direct link in the chat, so you could just click on that. And it'll give us a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds to get joined in. If you can't join in, not a problem. You can watch and learn. I just wanted you guys to kind of experience from the student side of things what it can look like. All right. So I'm going to start with a shout it out because I really wanted to hear from you guys. How is test prep going for you? What are some usual ways that you do test prep in your classroom? What are some ways that you make it engaging or effective? So what are some things that you have done in your classroom when you are reviewing, maybe a unit review or our standardized tests? What are some ways that you have made it interactive or engaging and really made that time valuable? So I'll give you a few minutes. If you click on that little box, you are able to answer that question. If you can't join me, you can drop it in the chat. What are some ways that you make test prep engaging and effective? Long answers. Maybe we have lots of people that have lots of ideas of how they've made it. I know when I was in the classroom, I always was reiterating something like, oh, that didn't work, let me try this. Oh, that didn't work, let me try this. Oh, I love it. All right, game-based activities. Thinking that, yes, Lumio, those game-based activities for sure. Game, a spiral review. Oh, that's so important because I think a lot of times when we're teaching, we finish the unit and we're like, we're done, but then we know that the end of the year tests are going to have all of the topics on them. Ooh, escape room challenges. I like that. Quiz competitions. Anytime you can make it a competition for kids, they are in. Teachers incorporate interactive activities during the regular lessons that secretly, include test prep techniques that they'll use. I love that. Able to kind of slide those in there, have them think that they're just, having fun, but you're also prepping them for what they're about to see. Game-based activities, games, awesome. I love that. Peer teaching, yes. 2-minute drills. Oh, I love that. Student-created goals. Anytime that you can have them have ownership in what they're learning, I think is fantastic. Ooh, find the mistake. Yes. Taking those standardized test questions and then kind of changing them up and then see if you can find the mistake. I love that. A big graph race paper around the room. Yes, kind of like a gallery walk. Awesome. Well, I think always when I'm with teachers, you guys are the ones that are in the classroom doing all the things we learn best from each other. So I just wanted to hear some ways that you guys have made test prep engaging. We know it's kind of the dreaded part of our job with test prep season upon us, but just wanted to hear some of the ways that you guys are doing it. Those are all fantastic. So a couple of things, when I'm showing you some of these examples within Lumio, I really wanted to show you, kind of highlight how Lumio can really help enhance your test prep. One of the ways that you can do that, if you haven't explored in Lumio Beta, we'll look at that in a little bit, but the AI assist for assessment. So you're able to quickly create personalized assessments. You can use standard aligned quizzes, all the things to really help kind of backtrack and give you those, buy you some time back. We also have interactive reviews. So I'm going to highlight this one toolkit that I think is going to be fantastic if you haven't already seen it. That's going to be able to help you with those game-based activities and those quizzes and really mimicking what they'll see on their test. As well as collaborative learning. So we know Lumio is very engaging. There will be times where you can do co-editing or peer collaboration using Workspace. So that's something to keep in mind. One of my favorite things, though, is honestly giving that instant feedback. So being able to provide real-time feedback to students using stickers, text, audio messages, all those things. I think it's so important that students get feedback immediately so that they're able to kind of inform their own learning, and we're able to inform our instruction. And then we know that we have lots of accessibility features. So the immersive reader, instructional audio, attached audio. If I had Lumio in the classroom when I was teaching, I just remember sitting at my horseshoe table and I'd read the question and answer choices to my small group over and over and over again. And if I had something that would be able to mimic what they will see and hear on their standardized test, I would have absolutely loved that. And then the last thing is really being able to track your student progress. So monitoring and adjusting your lessons based on the data that you're getting with the student dashboard, and then being able to export that data to form your small groups beyond. So lots of ways, just a few ways that Lumio can enhance your test prep. Stickers are so convenient. Yes. Angela, absolutely. You will get this presentation so that you can review and practice. So this is, if you are joined in my class, you could click on this right here, but we'll drop it in the chat here in just a little bit. I'm going to go and then we'll be able to share that with you. And I'll also show you where it is so that you're going to be able to download it to your library. But the interactive review toolkit is fantastic. So I want to make sure when we get there, I'll show you exactly where it is so you can find it. It might be hiding, but it is kind of where a lot of the ideas from today came from. All right, so I'm just going to go through several examples. I know in the state of Texas, and I was looking at our attendance list, and I have lots of Texas teachers here, so thank you for joining. But even if you're globally or if you're joining us from another state, the same question types pop up on quite often on all of the different standardized tests that our students take. And so I'm just going to go through several of the question types and examples so that you can kind of see how to build within Lumio. Everything that I am showing you, I used the template from, so it's all within Lumio. I didn't have to go elsewhere to build it within that. I just took kind of what release state test questions we have there online and kind of built from there. So hot text is the first one, and this slide is also in our interactive review. So it gives you options of if you're wanting to mimic this type of question, a hot text, they're going to be clicking on words, phrases, or sentences, and it's kind of highlighting within the text. So it might be a paragraph or a passage where they're having to click which lines help them answer the question. Shouted out response and an individual activity are three ways that you're going to be able to have your students mimic what it would feel like to answer a hot text question. So I'm not going to show you all three ways, but I want you to see when I'm going through the questions, we have several ideas of how you can mimic this in your classroom. So, for example, this is a third grade reading passage. This is a poem, and all I did was import a PDF. And the reason I imported a PDF is because I want my students who maybe are having trouble accessing grade level text, or they have accommodations, or they're an English language learner, I wanted to make sure that they would have the ability to have that immersive reader. So when I click on that, you're going to notice that every single paragraph, kind of stanzas, although there's not stanzas within this poem, little sections are going to be able to be highlighted for students to then be able to read and have read aloud to them. I also wanted to show you an example of how you could put instructional audio. So if you were giving your students this for an independent task, or if you were doing this in a station or around the room and you weren't able to be right there with them, then you can add instructional audio. So this is just an example.
Read the selection and choose the best answer to each question.
I just repeated what those directions are. Immersive readers could have it there for them, but again, they can listen over and over again. You can provide up to 5 minutes of instructional audio. So you can give as much detail to your directions as you want. But I wanted to show an example of that accessibility feature along with immersive reader. So here is an example of a handout that goes with that passage. Now, if I were doing this in the classroom, I need my students to read that poem and then be able to answer this question. So I'm going to go up to my classroom management tab, and I'm actually going to change the pacing to student pacing. When I do that, you're going to notice that you have the arrows illuminated now. And so now my students can go back to the poem. They can read the poem, immersive reader could have them read it, and then they can go back to their handout. So they can move throughout the activity, so they can go back as many times as they need to answer. So this is a hot text example where they are taking the green rectangle, which mimics what a lot of standardized tests have, where it's going to be highlighting, and they're going to be moving that rectangle to the line that is whatever the question is asking them. This one is another one where they're asking what other words, so context clues, what other word in the poem helps them understand the meaning of limp. And so they're going to be moving their little answer choices. As the teacher, I'm able to see who has started this activity, and I can hop into anyone's activity, and I can give feedback. I can use the text box, or I can use the stickers to provide it. And I can go through each of my students to kind of see how they are doing. A lot of times teachers ask, can I go back in? What if I don't have time to look at what they answered in class? Can I go back later? Absolutely. You just go back into the file. All of the work that your students are doing gets saved there. So there we go. Here's an example. Thank you, Sarah. She's moved her box to what line she thinks. So again, you're able to pop in real time and see how your students are doing. So that's just one example. All this was a slide, copied the text from the question, and then I made it an individual handout. Not much craziness in terms of building this activity. Just wanted to show you an example of how you could mimic that hot text. All right. So another one, I'm not going to go through multiple choice and multi-select are put together. For Monster Quiz, if you're wanting to have them practice multiple choice or true or false questions, again, Monster Quiz is a fantastic way to participate. I know even secondary students are like, they love building the monsters. Like even an 11th grader is like, my monster won. So Monster Quiz is always a great one. Know that that is only going to have the true or false or multiple choice. If you run a response, then you're going to have 5 question types that you're going to be able to choose from. And a lot of those are going to mimic some of the question types that you'll see. So they'll have multiple choice, true or false, poll and opinion. They're going to have multi-answer, so a multi-select, and then they're going to have a short answer. So lots of ones you can kind of be thinking like, yep, those are different question types I know my students see on the test. So I'm going to show you an example of a response so that you can kind of see what that looks like. So here are 2 examples of a 4th grade math question, 2 4th grade math questions. And I wanted to show you a way that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I took a screenshot of the question that I already have. Maybe I have a worksheet that already has, I used it every year. It's a great quiz, but I want to make it a little bit more interactive and get that data really quickly without having to take them all home and grade them. So I took a screenshot of the question. I just retyped the answer choices. And then my students are able to do it on their paper, do it, expo marker on their desk, but then they're able to answer and respond on their device. And then I'm able to get data from that. So if I can tell my students, 20% of you are working through it, again, these are 4th grade math problems that probably have to do a little bit of thinking. I don't want you to have to think on a Thursday afternoon. I just wanted you to see, again, all I did was take screenshots. So truly, this was the question. I just retyped the question, but all of these stem and leaf plots and these frequency tables, I just took a screenshot of from a released question, and then I was able to put those in as the answer choices. So for response, you can do text or you can do images. So you can kind of see different ways in which you are doing that. For a monster quiz, do you need multiple players? Yes. And also monster quiz needs to be teacher led. So that's another thing. So does response. So those are kind of things keep in mind when you are mimicking some of these things, especially the multi-select. Depending on what you're choosing, it may need to be run live in class with the teacher versus something that can be done independent, like a student handout. It's a great question. But yes, you could group students. I love that, Jana. Put them into groups to have them do that. I'm going to go ahead and end and review for the sake of time, just so that you can see what it looks like. There's this export results button right here, and that is fantastic. It already grades it for you. I can download it to an Excel spreadsheet, and then I can filter and be like, this group of students has totally got this concept. I don't need to go back and review with them. These are a few students that maybe need to go back and look at stem and leaf plots. So I'm able to form my small groups and inform my instruction from this. So that's why one reason I love using Response is that it's going to do kind of the hard part for you. Yes, export results option, fantastic. I also am able to review it with my students too. So if we went through and everyone had done it, then we can kind of look and see how we did and what students chose what. It's also really good, especially with the multi-select, to see those students who maybe only selected one answer choice, and maybe one of their answer choices was correct, but they're not going to get full credit because they didn't choose both. So again, that gives you lots of information. Here is an example of a multiple choice question that's a little bit different. So if I didn't want to do a monster quiz because I wanted them to maybe be in stations, here's an example of a 4th grade math problem that I just put on a slide. I screenshot the question, I've added text for my answer choices, and then I wanted to show you what it would look like if I did a text audio. So again, I know some of my students are going to need their questions and answer choices read to them. So I was able to put in a text audio that would read them their question and then also read them the answer choices. So again, providing the independence, but also mimicking what they would see on their standardized test. And then I just created a transparent green circle, and that's how they can move it to the right answer. So you can attach audio, like Jana said, to objects. You can attach it to text. And then students can listen to this as many times, not to make you listen to it, as many times as they want. So I wanted you to see instructional audio, kind of that overview of directions versus the attached audio. Oh, and I love she's doing her math. She's doing it, love it. And so I'm able to go in, and if I wanted to be like, Sarah, you're amazing, I could go in and I could bring her a little sticker and show her how well she's doing. So again, another example of kind of making it a little bit more fun. Maybe you have your students show their work. Maybe you have them record why their answer is what they're selecting, so they could do audio. Students over in their toolbar also have the ability to add an audio recording as well. So they could record and say why they chose $1.60. So lots of options, especially with those accessibility features, as to why Lumio would be so great to do for an interactive review. And then multi-part questions. So we have some questions where they build upon each other. Part A's answer may be dependent, or part B's answer may be dependent on part A, vice versa. So they build upon each other, and they're multiple parts, and you need to get both parts correct in order to get full credit. So an example of a way to do this is using one of our graphic organizers. Again, Lumio has tons of ready-made resources and graphic organizers. I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. And then you just turn it into an individual handout. So here's an example of, and you know what, I just realized, I think I have you guys on student pacing. So you might have already been seeing all these things this entire time. If you weren't, then thank you for staying with me. But I was like, oh, I think I had student pacing on. So this is an example of part A and part B. So all I did was use our T-chart as one of our examples. This is a screenshot of the text. You'll notice that I linked it. We now have linking where we're able to link objects and text and images. And so this links out to the full text that they're able to read from. And then the question is here. I made the same kind of little circle, but this time I did it infinitely cloned so that they're able to move it to part A and they're able to move one to part B. So again, I could move those and have them answer. So it has 2 parts. Make sure you answer both. But I didn't really reinvent the wheel, except that I just copy and pasted what these questions were and then linked that passage for them. So again, as the teacher, I can go in and I can see how Angela's doing. Is she having trouble maybe with just part B, or is she having trouble for maybe just part A? Oh, class code again. Yes. Been 7. I think Jana's on it. I see her nodding. She's like, I got you. So again, my biggest thing about Lumio is I do not want you to have to reinvent the wheel. Your time is precious. As teachers, you have so much already on your plate. So when I show you these examples, I really wanted to mimic what the workflow would be for you, that Lumio already has these things built in and you don't have to make them the prettiest or the most beautiful, because again, Lumio has these things. This was just a T-chart that was already there. I didn't have to go to Canva or go to Google Slides to do something, and it works just the same. So that's always my big thing, is like, how do I make your lives easier as teachers? Last one I wanted to show you was our short and extended constructed responses. So if you are a teacher in Texas, then you know that this is a big one. Our short constructed responses are just short answers. So again, when you think of the response as one of your activities, that would be a great one. You could choose short answer for that one. That one's going to be very short though, so there is a limit on characters, but short constructed responses for like math and science, I know that they are asked those questions. That might be great to use a response for that. For this one though, I'm going to show you an example using, again, one of our graphic organizers and then an individual handout. So you'll press start on your end. You'll see this is a 5th grade science example. So again, our students may have to be doing it. A lot of times we think of like essays and constructed responses as being in reading only, but we also have it in science and in math. So here's an example. I just took one of our graphic organizers, took a screenshot of the question, and then I just made a text box. So now my students are going to be able to start typing their answer to the question that is there. Again, because it's an individual handout, I'm able to go in and I'm able to see how my students are doing. I can provide them feedback, give them some tips, say, hey, oh, remember to have that question stem when you're starting it. Remember that we really need to focus in on this, one word in our question. So again, just another way to kind of bring it to life with Lumio instead of having them do it on paper or do it in the platform that looks very monotonous and actually looks like the test. It's good to have a balance. They're always practicing for the test in the same platform on their practice test. It just is going to seem kind of monotonous and boring. So this is just a different way. They may not realize that, like whoever said they secretly put the things in that they're practicing. This is a way for you to secretly put those things in. You maybe wouldn't even have to call it a short constructed response, because our students are smart enough to know, like, an SBR. Call it something different and then put it on here, and then you're able to see how your students are doing. So just several examples. One thing that I want to go over before we kind of look at where the interactive review toolkit is and kind of talk through any questions that you maybe have is that these 5 activities are ones that AI Assist will work for. Now you're going to have to turn on the beta if your beta isn't turned on yet. So I'm going to show you in just a second where you can do that. But these 5, response, monster quiz, team quiz, speed up, and game show, are the ones where you will have AI Assist to help you create those questions in a matter of seconds. And there's a new update that Jana and I saw with AI Assist today that I was like, perfect timing for this webinar. I'm so excited. I didn't even know. We did not even know that it was there. She was like, is that? And I was like, no, that's new. So just a second, I'm going to show you, but it's going to be in your teacher dashboard. And there's going to be, when you click on your icon or your initials, there's going to be an About Lumio Beta button. And you're just going to want to make sure it might say Join Lumio Beta if you haven't joined it, or it'll say About Beta if you have. And then you're just going to make sure that's toggled on. That's going to give you access to AI Assist. So I'm going to leave my session just so I can show you AI Assist, show you an example, show you where that beta button is, and then also show you where the interactive reviews are. If you want to join me, if you want to stay in my session, one trick of the trade is to open up an incognito window and log into your own account as a teacher. You don't have to go do that. You could leave my session if you wanted to and go to yours. But I just wanted you to know sometimes you could be a student and a teacher at the same time with an incognito window. So I'm going to end my lesson here for just a second. And on your dashboard, this is where you're going to want to look. So when you click on your little icon, say about Lumio Beta, you're just going to want to make sure that that is turned on. And Jana will be watching the chat if she sees someone that needs those steps again. So I'm going to go to new. And we're going to make a response because I know that the response has 5 different question types. And I kind of want to mimic those different question types when I'm creating an assessment using AI Assist. Now, for anyone who has been using AI Assist, this is the window that you see, but does anyone see something new that they maybe hadn't previously seen? Give someone a second in the chat, maybe type something, but there is brand new something on this. Yay, Sarah, yes, the language option, which is completely new as of today. We were like, what? So it'll default to English, but when you click down, the Spanish one is ES, Espanol, and then we have French and all the different things. So you may have to play around with what those are, but how cool is that that was added today? I know our teachers have been waiting for that. So that is, Liz, I'm high-fiving you through the screen. I love it. Yes. Super exciting. And I think even for us working with Smart and Lumio, we're like, wait, what? No one told us that it was there. So love that for us. Okay, so I'm in response. Again, I always want to point out, if you have questions that you use all the time, do not reinvent the wheel. You can do a mix of questions that you use using this add and edit button, or for the sake of this and giving you back some time, we are going to, not a weird look from others. I love it. Oh, I wish I was there. AI Assist, you can do a mix and match. So maybe I want to do, let's say, multiple answer, because again, I know that they're going to have multi-select. I will do grade 5 because that was my bread and butter. That's what I taught. Jana did too, fun fact. So we are 5th grade teachers for life. I'll do 3 questions. And Jana, I'm going to toss this to you. What topic or prompt do you want to see happen?
Well, you know, math and science is my jam. So let's go with the weathering, erosion, and deposition.
Got it. Weathering, erosion, and deposition. And I'm going to say generate. And in a matter of seconds, we are going to get this. Now, you'll notice right here, again, AI, not 100%. I also always want you to go check, because I know that sometimes when I create these, the academic language that maybe my students are used to me saying or speaking may not be what AI gives me, but I can always tweak it. Maybe I take one of these wrong answer or one of these right answers away and I replace it with a wrong answer. I'm just going to put wrong answer for right now. I didn't read the question, but there's that, so that I have that. I also could make another one that has it as well. So I can go through here. I have 3 multi-answer questions that I like, and then I can go back to my AI Assist and I could say, okay, maybe now I want 2 questions, still on weathering, erosion, and deposition, but maybe I want them to be short answer. Maybe I'm going to want them to practice that SER prompt. So I'm going to say generate. You're going to see I'm going to get 2 more that generate for me. Matter of seconds. Now I have one. I can either choose an open answer, or I can give it up to like 4 correct answers. Like, these are the answers I want my students to specifically type into that box. So either way, you can do open answer or not. See that I have 5 questions now. So now I have a 5-question quiz, a quick check, a review specifically on weathering, erosion, and deposition, my response with my different question types. I can say finish. And in a matter of seconds, I have created an assessment with AI Assist, now with the language function, to be able to change that. So now I'm just thinking, like, of all the ways I could use this. Now, again, response has to be teacher-led, but I could start it live for maybe my students, my English language learners, my ones, you know, my EVs who need it in their native language, and then they're going to switch back and forth. So I can have different groups going as well. But I can change this to, say, weathering, erosion, and deposition. I can copy and paste that, and I can make that right here. And I say finish, and now I have my response that I've created. So you saw me in a matter of seconds. I already have that. I could, with my team, maybe during prep time, each of us take a concept, and we use AI and create all the different quizzes that we're going to have for a week. So it's just a nice, easy way to kind of, take some of that off your plate and have AI do it for you. So that is AI Assist. Again, remember, it's going to be used in those 5 different activity types. What I want to show you now is where that interactive review toolkit lives. So on the your upper bar, you have your library, your shared libraries. I want you to go, and maybe you're writing this down or maybe you're following along with me, go to Lumio Library. We have these collections at the top, and our instructional toolkits on the far right-hand side is where it is going to live. Now, there are fantastic other instructional toolkits in here, so if you haven't downloaded all the other ones, that would be like my first thing to do. But in instructional toolkit, and it kind of is hiding, so again, I can walk you through these steps, but it is the 3rd row down, 2nd from the left, creating interactive reviews. Now, what I love about Lumio Library is that I am able to look at the thumbnails of all of these to see. And Jana and I have both been known, even if there's like 1 slide out of 20, and maybe we just want that 1 slide, I still download it just for that 1 slide. So you'll see in this resource, it's going to tell you how to use it. Then you're going to see some of the things that I showed you guys, different types of questions, the explanation for the questions, and then there are templates here. So again, screenshot what that question was, where it says insert image here, put your terms there, and you've created a hotspot question. Here's our hot text. It's going to give you an example of each one of those. So again, when I was talking to you guys about the different ways in which you could do a multi-select, you're going to see that all of those different examples are living there. Here's very similar to what you saw with those coins. I was able to screenshot the math problem and then add some instructional audio or some attached audio to be able to have it read to them. So nothing I did that should look familiar to is I just wanted to show you how easy you could take this interactive review toolkit and do it for your own content area, your state, your curriculum, all of that. So all of them are in here, some fabulous fun ones. Dragging and dropping, I know our 3rd graders in Texas, it's their 1st year that they take a standardized test. And so even practicing those skills of dragging and dropping are so important. 2nd grade, I always kind of prepped my teachers in 2nd, like, hey, they're going to have to do this in 3rd. What are some ways that we can kind of build that schema and that tech knowledge to be able to do it when they get to 3rd? So again, creative interactive reviews, fantastic toolkit. All I would do is I would say save to my library, and then a copy would go into my library, so I'm able to use it later. So that is where that lives. I'm going to hop back into my lesson here, and some next steps. I wanted to give you kind of some go-dos. I'm not going to make you sit in here and create something with me because I know your time is precious, but some next steps and things that I would do after seeing this webinar and seeing some of the things is maybe go try out creating game-based activities using the AI Assist, especially now that we have those different language options. Play around with that. Another one is to go download that interactive review toolkit and any of the other toolkits that you found in there. So again, download that. Make sure that's in your library. Share it with all your co-teachers and your team. They all have copies of it as well. And then the last one is just practice importing a resource or using a resource from Lumio, one of those graphic organizers, and add accessibility features, add instructional audio, add the attached audio. Remember that those can go, the attached audio can go to text, it can go to an object like a sticker, it can go to an image. So all sorts of things. Add some of those accessibility features that you wouldn't be able to mimic unless you had Lumio, because again, we can't all be walking around reading all the questions. So it's just a game changer. I love all of our accessibility features. So those are just 3 things to think about for next steps. Again, here's that interactive review toolkit. Jana has dropped it in there. And then the last is that we always have resources. You are not alone in your Lumio journey. So we have a fantastic global community. And in fact, I'm going to shout out some of our people in our webinar today who are included in our global community. They are ambassadors with us. And it's just a great way to connect to other educators. I would highly suggest, if you are not already a part of our Lumio Educators Facebook group, that is probably the go-to place to go to get your questions answered. There are always resources that are being shared by other educators like you in there. It's just a very active place. Jana and I are a part of it. A lot of our Lumio team is a part of it as well. So it's just a great place to get your questions asked. Learn Lumio is going to be our webpage. It's going to have all the different resources for you as far as anything Lumio goes. If you're someone that learns by watching, our Lumio YouTube channel has all the different things. Basically, you could pretty much search for anything having to do with Lumio and you will find a video about it there. Webinars, just like what you're in now, knowing that you can register for a webinar, and then even if you can't attend it, there's some fantastic ones coming soon this spring. If you can't attend all of them or can't attend one, we always suggest registering for it anyways, and then the recording will be sent after you. And you guys attended this, but a recording will also be sent to you so you have it later and you can share it with your teammates maybe who weren't able to join. And then the last thing we have is our academy. So I know when I was a teacher, I always needed my continuing education hours, my PD credit hours. So that's free self-paced coursework that's going to help you kind of continue learning. And then the last thing, again, I have some of our fabulous ambassadors in here. I recognize some names. But this is just a great way to connect globally with other teachers. You learn new things, tips and tricks. You're like the first to find out about things, although the language one today literally went past both Jana and me, so I don't really know. That was just a gift that we got today. But you get certificates, badges, and just lots of fun things. So join that ambassador community if you haven't already. And then the last thing is Jana's going to drop in the chat the link to our survey if she hasn't already. I know she's going to. Is that survey? If you complete that, you're going to get a PD certificate after doing that as well. And I think Sarah said, yes, the Lumio ambassador community is rewarding in so many ways. I love that. Thanks, Sarah. She's definitely one of our active ambassadors, so we appreciate her, but we do try to spoil our ambassadors. Lots of things get given at different conferences and our different, get-togethers with the ambassadors, exclusive ambassador events. So yes, we do love to spoil our ambassadors and our community members. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Jana, I think.
Yeah, thanks, Laura, so much. And thanks for everyone joining us today for our Go Lumio webinar. It was a pleasure to be with all of you. I want to thank Laura for her insight on how to leverage AI and interactive reviews for test prep. We can tell Laura is definitely a former classroom teacher. Her knowledge is extensive. Don't forget to complete the survey. I dropped that link in the chat. Remember, you will receive a follow-up email with the recording of this webinar and resources to help you on your Lumio journey. I also dropped Laura's teacher share link for her file in the chat as well. We'll stick around for 30 seconds or so. If there's any last minute questions, you can feel free to drop those in the chat. We'll address them. And if not, make sure you grab that survey link so you can get your certificate after you complete it. And thanks again for joining us, and we hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks, guys. Oh, you're welcome.